Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Theo, and I love to talk about horror movies. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Companion. Just a fair warning, this will be a spoiler review. There will be stuff that I say in this video that might ruin this movie for you. I always suggest that folks go and check the video out or the movie out for themselves before watching anything that I do that has to do with spoiler review, because I don't like ruining the movies for folks. So if that's not your jive, go ahead and skip on to the next video on my channel. So with that being said, let's jump into Companion. Companion itself is a different type of movie. So I initially seen the preview about 6 months ago, and I thought to myself, this movie's going to be good. It's going to be weird. It's going to be something different, maybe something that hasn't been done before. And it hit every angle for that for me. It had a lot of good choices made throughout the movie that kept you kind of wondering what was going to happen. And there was a lot of humor and a lot of like wittiness thrown into it as well that really caught your attention and kept your attention throughout the couple hours of this movie. So Companion is a pretty much horror comedy is what I'm going to call it. And it surrounds 5 characters. And 2 main stars in this movie are Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid. And they really do an honest job at portraying not only like a horrific scenes, but also portraying the comedic side of this movie also. The movie starts out with Iris and Josh, which are portrayed by Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid. And they meet in a grocery store to this dream sequence of which they, meet each other, fall in love. Love at first sight type of moment. And we kind of cut scene into them traveling on a vacation getaway to go meet some friends out to this like lake area in the middle of the woods. And then we kind of go off the rails after about the first like 30 minutes of this movie, whenever you start trying to pinpoint that there might be something fishy going on at this lake house. And then once they arrive at this lake house, they meet Kat and Eli and Sergey, and they kind of get off on this like okay balance of a talking spree. And Sergey is the owner of this lake in this lake house, and Josh and them believe that he's into all these bad things because he's this Russian look-like drug lord kind of guy. And then during this conversation, they walk to the kitchen and we meet Patrick, who is Eli's boyfriend. Okay? So keep that in mind, because that's going to be important here as we continue through this review. They're all talking, getting to know each other over dinner. They have this dance party, and then it kind of cuts scene to what I thought was the funniest moment in this movie. There's basically this scene where they're dancing, they're having a good time, and then it cuts scene to Josh kind of like finishing, I guess is what I should say, in a sexual manner. And his face and everything, the sound effects he makes, it just come out of nowhere, and I busted the fuck out laughing for like a solid minute straight. But this scene is really important to this movie, because after that takes place, he just kind of turns over and, tells Iris, like, just go to sleep, whatever, leave me alone. No snuggles, no kisses, no nothing. Just roll over, just get off me, leave me alone, go to sleep. And then they wake up the next morning and they're supposed to go out to this hiking trip to the beach. Iris and Josh are supposed to go out to the beach, and basically Josh plays it off like he's not feeling well and he can't go now. And it instantaneously gives you like this feeling that he's probably cheating. It's just what it comes down to. You get this feeling that like he's cheating on Iris and he's going to hang back at the house to hang out with Kat, and this whole love affair is going on. But once he gets done talking to her, we see him take this little like USB drive, probably about the size of a lighter, and he puts it into his phone. And then we cut scene and Iris is down on the beach and she gets welcomed by Sergey. who is the owner of the lake itself. And it starts to get really weird because he starts to become like this sexual predator trying to push himself onto Iris. And inevitably, she defends herself and, kills him in a way that like kind of leaves her covered in blood and ends up back into the lake house again, trying to explain what's going on. And this is where this movie really starts getting good. Because after she comes back into the lake house and she's covered in blood and she's like, he pushed himself onto me. I had no choice. He wouldn't leave me alone. Josh starts freaking the fuck out. Everyone starts freaking the fuck out. Like, what did you do? How could you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And then everyone's in this high aggression, like stampede around the house. And then out of nowhere, you see Josh turn to the camera with Iris sitting there or standing there in front of him. And he goes, Iris, go to sleep. And she just shuts down. That's right. She's a robot. And now we find out that basically Iris is this sex robot, is what it comes down to, a companion robot, as they call it in the movie, but they also reference to her as a sex robot, or a fuckbot, rather, is what they actually call her. And she has computer programming through Josh's phone and through her own intelligence of an AI system to basically do as she is told through Josh's command. And that doesn't sit too well once Iris finds out that she's actually a robot. Because Kat comes downstairs and says, are you going to just shut her the fuck down already? And he's like, oh, dude, not fucking cool. You're never supposed to say that to a robot. You're never supposed to tell a robot you're going to shut her down. And then, it just leads into this rabbit hole of her trying to figure out if she's an actual robot or an actual person, because she has these memories, these database memories that they call them in the movie, that sync with whatever dream sequence you want them to be to match you to the person you're paired up with, be it Josh in this scenario. And she basically tries to get out, tries to get free, and she does. And then it ends up on this goose chase trying to find her for the next half hour of the movie. And I told you need to remember Eli and Patrick and the fact that Patrick is Eli's boyfriend. And this is why. Because they inevitably come to terms with Kat and Josh of the reason why everyone came out to this lake house to begin with. And the reason why they came out to this lake house was because Kat and Josh had established a plan to kill Sergey using Iris, the fuck toy, and blame everything on her for his death and steal the $12 million that he has stashed away behind a family portrait in his home. So Eli and Patrick then find out that they were brought up there to be witnesses or accomplices, and then they want a cut of the money. So they say, we want a cut of the money split 4 ways. And basically Josh says, you mean 3 ways, because it would be me, Kat, you, and he goes, Patrick doesn't matter. And then he goes, why doesn't he matter? And he turns around, Eli turns around and says, Patrick, go to sleep. So Patrick is a robot also. And this is just a corporate running game of these robots that are established, these AI robots, to be companion robots to whoever and wherever you need one. And this part really gets me going. It's funny. There's a lot of humor in this movie. And I had a lot of fun with this movie because it reminded me a lot of Abigail from last year. It was a horror comedy, had a horror concept, but had a lot of really funny moments that kept you on the edge of your seat or laughing during the times where everything was tense too. That's really what I got from this movie this year. I think this movie, Companion, will probably be this year's Abigail from last year. But it gets me going on this scene because then they establish now there are 2 companion robots here. They're arguing back and forth about why one doesn't need money versus the other. And then they come to terms with each other during this argument. And it's just this hilarious sequence of arguments back and forth. And, you'll have to see it to watch it. But it's just a really funny moment where they're arguing back and forth. And then they come to terms and then they all go out trying to find Iris to bring her back, to put all the blame onto her so she can be demobilized and dysfunctioned. That way they can steal the $12 million. And Patrick and Eli go one way, Kat and Josh go the other way, and they're trying to find Iris out in the woods, and she has made her way up to this mountaintop, and she's trying to develop a plan and trying to develop what's going on. And basically, she has Josh's phone. She has stolen Josh's phone out from underneath him, and whenever she's running away, so she's trying to figure out how to get into his phone to mess with her settings. And she does. She figures it out. She goes in, she messes with her aggression, she messes with her intelligence, she messes with her emotions, her voice, all that stuff. And then she devises a plan to where, like, if she got back to Josh's car, which is also operated by the phone, she could just drive away and get home. Then Iris starts making her way back down the mountaintop to try and get to the car. And in doing that, pathway is blocked by Eli and Patrick. And they're having a conversation about how they met and how much they love each other, blah, blah, blah. And then, out of nowhere, they see her and hear her. And then, Eli tells Patrick, like, get her. And they start chasing her down. And then Eli tackles her and gets shot, through this physical altercation with Iris. Iris kills Eli. And then Patrick doesn't know what to do, so he just kind of sits there wondering what's going on with Eli in his arms. Iris is gone. She's gone away now. She killed Eli. She's gone. She's vanished. And she gets back down to the car where Josh inevitably is waiting for her, tries to get into the car, break the window, and she gets the voice changer out on the phone and starts trying to change her voice to meet Josh's settings in the car so she can get out of there and get away. And as she's doing this, he tries to break the window down, and then she gets the voice changer to kick and she drives off. Moments later, he reports the car is stolen from another phone, and it shuts the car down and the police show up. And as the police officer's coming up to the car, she changes her voice to speak German. So he doesn't understand anything she's saying, and there's another really comedic moment in this scene. A lot of comedic moments, actually, in this scene. But during the time of which she's trying to get away in the car, Josh basically reprograms Patrick to be his companion now and has complete control over him. So he starts telling Patrick, you need to get Iris. You need to find her. You need to kill her. You need to bring her back here at all cost. And then basically Patrick shows up behind this cop as he's trying to arrest her for the blood in the stolen car and kills the cop and takes Iris back to the lake house for Josh to be there. And then we get the sit-down dinner between the two where basically Josh wants to give his last words to Iris. Basically telling her, like, it's been a good run. You're just a robot. Can you feel this pain? Lights her arm on fire. And inevitably makes her shoot herself in the face and then thinks that she's decommissioned. And as he's doing this and gets it done and over with, basically he stages it like she malfunctioned, tried to kill a bunch of people, and tried to kill him, and she inevitably killed herself in the long run because of emotions and stuff that maybe she just didn't feel because she was an AI robot and kind of went haywire, and the company doesn't fall for it whenever they come to pick her up. Inevitably, the company tells him, like, no, sorry, not that we don't believe you. They act like it's just one of these things like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah, we'll get her out of here. We'll take her back to the shop, get her worked on, look at her database and all her camera footage that's stored inside of her. And Josh kind of like, what? And he's like, yeah, the camera footage. It's stored. A lot of people think it's stored up in her head, but it's actually stored in her chest. And he was like, shit. So then he sends Patrick out to start trying to kill the people that came to pick up Iris. Patrick's trying to kill these two people that came to pick up Iris, and in the meantime, she's rebooting in the car of which they brought to take her away in. She's rebooting her systems, and she comes back to life without, Josh knowing, and helps one of them that were, there to pick her up stay alive. And basically, he reprograms her again to have complete control over everything, and nobody can control her again. And then that leads to another fight between Josh and Iris inside the house, where he's trying to mess with her with his phone after he realizes she has come back to life and she has no autonomy to it anymore. He has no control over her. She can do what she wants, but then inevitably she still has this feeling for him, and he uses that against her and, pins her to the ground and tries to kill her again with a gun, telling her, like, I want you to tell me that you actually love me now that you don't have any control, and all this other stuff. Really odd sequence of stuff that goes on. And then, basically, as he's getting ready to pull the trigger to kill her camera footage and then kill her again, she stabs him with this champagne opener, and it kind of digs into his brain and pulls out part of his brain, and he dies. That's kind of what happens at the end of the movie. And she kind of goes into the shower scene. We get a reenactment from one of the Terminator movies where she's tearing off one of her hands, and she drives off into the sunset. She drives off into the sunset with Sergei's $12 million. I forgot to mention that part. For me, all in all, I think this is one hell of a great movie. Like I said earlier in this video, I think this is going to be this year's Abigail. I think it's going to win a lot of awards because it's one of those movies where, like, the cast is really good, the story's original, there's a lot of comedic moments, while a lot of also tense and horrific moments, a lot of, like, drama scenes between, like, relationships and such. There's just a lot happening, but it's all done really well to the point of where, like, you will enjoy every part of this movie if you're into these kind of movies. If you're into horror comedies, then you're probably going to really enjoy this one. On a personal level, didn't know this was going to be a comedy or part comedy. A lot of the trailer kind of gives it off as like this thriller horror type of thing. And then you get into it and you start realizing, like, there's a lot of fucking comedic value in this movie. I can go out on a limb here and tell you that this will be one of my favorite movies this year. I'm going to personally put this probably in my top 5 by the end of this year. I had a lot of fun with this movie. You guys should definitely go check it out. I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Go watch it, check it out in theaters, buy it when it comes out. It's definitely worth your money. You will have fun with it if you're into these kind of movies and you like this cast. It's a hell of a ride. But that'll do it for this one for me, folks. I appreciate everything you guys do, everything you do for the channel. I really appreciate the support. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Check under your beds, and stay safe out there.